you guys today. I want to talk about, it's going to be a really interesting weekend because we've got the NBA coming up. We've got golf today. I'm happy to talk about any of these things you guys want to talk about. I'm going to focus mostly on the major leagues today and the slate and going to talk about the bets I like. We can certainly talk about some golf for the weekend as well. We can certainly talk about the NBA coming up and who we like as maybe some sleeper bets, who are some bets that maybe BetQL might have pointed out. But we're going to start it off normal. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and we're going to get into just this slate going game by game. Basically, it's kind of an interesting slate from a DFS perspective because it's pretty clear where the ownership's going to go in terms of the hitting, at least, especially. Actually, I think with the pitching as well. But what I want to do is pull this up real quick, and we're going to go game by game, games that we like. But before we do that, I just want to point out a couple of things that BetQL wants me to show up here. That these are the things that you would get on every game, but we're only going to get a couple for today because right now we can only give away a couple for free. Obviously, we can't give away all the information. You got to pay, but like this, I mean, they've been crushing with the 4 and 5 star bets. I love this bet here. I like the odds of the bet on the Cubs to win. I think it's a really good bet. I probably wouldn't touch this game in terms of betting the over under. It's not on the DFS slates, but I think it's an interesting game to start with. And I think that you could just straight out bet the Cubs to win this game, and I would like that bet. This Reds lineup is not quite right with the guys who we thought would be there are not there, basically, and Moustakas being a big one. Anyway, I wanted to point that out, and we have it as a 3-star bet today. Basically, the pros are liking it. We have the public, which is sort of actually a little bit more on the Reds. But the home field advantage shouldn't matter as much now these days. I know it's a little bit still there, but there's a lot of reasons here. And I'm buzzing like crazy right now. And I think it's because we're getting lineups in, and that always happens as we're going on air. But anyway, just so you guys know, I don't like to bet baseball games straight up too often, but this is one I would definitely get behind. I actually think the Cubs offense is just much better, and I don't consider the home field advantage to play much of a factor. So Cubs over Reds, that's one of the best bets for the day. We're going to get into game by game. I'm going to give a few minutes to give people some time to get in the room. I'm going to make sure that I'm also in chat so I can answer any questions or talk about anything that's going on. And make sure to say hello when you're in the room, and we'll get it going. Abrasive, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Any big scores? I had a really close call last night. I actually want to talk about. I'll actually, bring it up in just a minute. But basically, last night I had a lineup that was in line to potentially win, even with Xander Bogaerts giving me 0 and 0 out of Jed Jorko. I got the pitching right. I had Merrill Kelly and Homer Bailey, which isn't that great on DraftKings. But I ended up, it wasn't a huge deal, but I was, 5th, and it was basically the last inning. It was the Angels bottom of the 8th, but they were up, so they weren't going to bat again. And you get Rendon to hit a two-out home run that basically flipped it up the slate to where I was going to make about 10K to basically breaking even. That's a little bit frustrating, but it was nice to be back on track, to feel like my game is good. Have had some different approaches about not stacking fully and finding mini stacks and looking for power because of the way that's the nature of the games are becoming bullpen games. You don't maybe have quite as much offensive explosion. I think you're going to see a lot more unders this year. That's just basically where I'm at. So anyway, we're going to get into game by game real quick. I'm just going to look at Abrasive in the chat real quick. A reminder, everybody, say what's up when you get into the room. You get in the room. Abrasive says lost last night, but decent since the restart. That's great, man. I'm happy for you. It feels like the restart. We'll call it the restart because it's all we've got. I have to say, I'm really looking forward to basketball. I do enjoy the baseball games, but it's not the same thing. And I'm really enjoying the betting angles of it, but I'm not enjoying the playing as much as I do. The watching as much as I do just the basketball, and it's going to be an awesome time when it does come back. We've got other people jumping in chat. I don't know which chat. It looks like we got Periscope. DeJuan says, what's up? What's up, DeJuan? Glad you're with us here. Any particular questions, any thoughts you guys have today, any sort of hot takes, any of my hot takes you want to know, let me know. But I'm going to go game by game real quick and break down this slate a little bit. Let me jump over real quick to our home screen. Here we go. Let's just go here. We'll just go real quick each game by game. So let's jump in. I already mentioned I didn't really want to get into these early games. I didn't study them for the slate, so I probably would be talking a little bit out of left field on these. I do think that maybe you could play the I think I like the A's over the Rockies as a straight bet. but I don't know that I would make it, and I don't think I would touch the Diamondbacks-Rangers game. I don't really have a strong take on the Blue Jays-Nationals either, but I would probably lean on betting the Blue Jays straight up and trying to get the incredible odds you're hitting, and it's a baseball game. Let's remember that, and this is not the same Nationals team, even though I know they're in a good spot today. All right, but to the games that we're actually going to be focused on, we obviously don't have the Phillies and Yankees and Marlins and Orioles. We actually have the Yankees and Orioles. So that's a whole separate story. I don't even know if we have a total up yet on that game, but we probably should by now. So I'll check that as we get there. Getting some messages in. All right. So it looks like we're going to get the, I have my plays of the day. We're going to go game by game, but real quick before we do, because I know you guys mostly follow me from DFS, let's talk about some highlights that we've got. We're going to pull up the stuff real quick. I'm just going to have the producer do that real quick. These are my favorite DFS plays of the day. We're going to start off with Aaron Judge, outfielder for the Yankees. I like him on both sites. I think you can afford him. There's guys you can pay down for at pitcher, which we'll get into in a minute. But Aaron Judge, not going to be off the board. Neither is Giancarlo Stanton, my other favorite play. 5,800 on DraftKings, 3,800 on FanDuel. It's just a massive power spot. I love these Yankees, and I like starting with those guys. You could go different with the Yankees stack if you wanted to today and maybe skip the outfield because the outfield's a much stronger position than some of the infield spots today. But I do think that Aaron Judge and Stanton, even at chalkier ownership, are going to be in a lot of my lineups. Michael Brantley at 3K on DraftKings is more of a DraftKings specific play, especially if you want to pay up for Cole or DeGrom, which I would lean Cole on. I like Brantley quite a bit at 3K. I think he's just not a 3K hitter. I mean, it's ridiculous, actually, to be honest with you. Especially if you compare him with the guys around him. You could put him with one or two other Astros, make a little mini stack. Springer would probably be my other preferred play, along with maybe Correa and Altuve, even though I hate those guys personally as a Dodger fan. But Michael Brantley, certainly one of the stronger plays in all formats in DFS. Joe Musgrove, one of my favorite pitching spend downs on DraftKings, especially. I think you can even use him on FanDuel. We saw him get as much of a leash as anybody else got, and he's 5,300 on DraftKings, guys. Like, perfect guy to pair with Cole. Obviously, probably going to have some ownership. A little bit of a scary offense, but not quite the offense we used to be. So not too worried about it. I'm really not. I really think what we want to focus on is trying to get the bats we need today. Joe Musgrove, great guy to spend down on, in my opinion. That's the guy. I like him on DraftKings especially, but don't even mind a shot on FanDuel. Just prefer him on DraftKings. Andrew Heaney is one of my overall favorite plays, but especially like him on FanDuel at 7,100. He only threw 67 pitches on opening day, but he looked pretty good. This Seattle lineup is really young, a lot of hit or miss. They've got more strikeouts than the average team, especially should against lefties. They're young. I could see here, I don't mind taking a bat or two from Seattle in different lineups where you're not using Heaney as sort of a contrarian play, and they're really cheap. But I think Heaney's one of the strongest overall pitching plays on the slate. I'm going to check back into chat, try and answer some questions. But in the meantime, we're going to get into our stack attack afterwards, my favorite stacks of the day. And I'll just give you guys a hint. I'm not going way off the board with my stacks today. I'm going to try and get difference in ownership elsewhere. But just to catch up a little bit in chat, we've got Angry Hairline who says he's a little behind. Don't worry. You're welcome to come. You can be behind a little bit. We've got a live stream going, so we're going to be here for a little bit. Fire in any questions, guys. Fire in any thoughts you have on the slate. And we're going to keep going with my favorite stacks in just a minute. And it looks like I'm getting some stuff from other chat rooms, which is nice. I'm glad people aren't just watching us on YouTube. So nice to see that this is getting streamed all over the place. And hopefully we'll have more people in the chat room shortly as the word gets out that we're going live right now. All right, let's get back into it. I'm going to talk about my favorite stacks, which are pretty obvious when you think about it. We've got the Yankees now projected at 5.6. That feels low to me. I think that the Yankees should, I think the over in that game is interesting, but it's really all on the Yankees side, so it's kind of hard. But I think the Yankees themselves could outscore that total. So the Yankees are great. The Twins are great. Those are my favorite two. The Dodgers would be my third stack, and the Angels would be my fourth. I don't think I'd fully stack those teams. I think I like more 2-3 mans. But I think that we're looking at trying to find different creative stacks. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of KC mixed in because of their pricing. I say maybe lean a little bit more towards Detroit in some of those spots. I also like taking Matt Boyd as a pitcher against KC to sort of leverage a little bit of that ownership. But we'll get into some other specific favorite plays. But that's sort of a general outlook on my slate attack. You have my core lineups: Twins, Yankees, Dodgers, Angels, and my core players: Judge, Stanton, Brantley, Musgrove, Heaney. And then I could go down a list of twins: Nelson Cruz, Rosario, Kepler. Everybody stands out for the Twins. So just make sure if you stack the Twins, you try and do like a Miguel Sano or somebody a little bit lower owned and get them in there so you can try and get some low ownership on what's going to be a really chalky stack. So that's my favorite stacks of the day. We've got them all up on there. I also wanted to real quick touch on my favorite bets of the day overall. I should have had this down. We're still getting familiar with the new format over here at QLTV, but it's getting much, much better. So I just wanted to say, like, it's going to take a minute sometimes in between, when we get this perfect or not. It's just, we're not quite there yet, but I was a little shaky at the start because we were sort of scrambling, running late with a few technical issues, but we should be able to cruise the rest of the way. MLB bets, Dodgers over the Astros. I know you're giving up -140. I know the Astros are at home. I think the Dodgers are the better team. I think Dustin May has a better chance to last longer in this game. I like the Dodgers bullpen better. All over, I like the Dodgers in general as a stack, and I like them in this game. I like the Pirates to upset potentially the Brewers. They're plus 125, which I actually thought the odds were a little bit different when I first looked. I actually thought we were going to get like plus 140 or 150. I don't know what I was seeing. I think it might have just been an early line, but leveling out a little bit now, plus 125 for the Pirates. I think there's an outside chance that Musgrove throws a good one. And we've seen this sporadic, Brewers team, which is maybe not quite the same offense they had last year. That's just my personal quick take on them. Another one I love, the Twins Cardinals over. Not crazy about either of these pitchers today. I do think Rich Hill makes an interesting long shot tournament play. When he's going, he's as good as anybody. I don't know how many pitches he's going to throw. I've seen him dominate even on short pitching things as a Dodger fan for a long time. I don't know that I could get behind it today. And I think the hitting conditions and the lineup, particularly the Twins side, I think is gonna be due for a big night. So I like the over in that game. The BetQL exclusive bet, we're giving you the 5-star bet of the day. It's the Padres under 8, which is a really interesting thing from a DFS perspective because Chris Paddock and Johnny Cueto. I love Paddock tonight. He's one of the other pitchers I'm going to use in addition to the guys I mentioned. And Heaney, basically it'd be Paddock, Heaney, Musgrove, Woodruff, and Garrett Cole on DraftKings for me. I think that's pretty much where I'd want to be. I also, I like this bet, the under, and I like that BetQL likes it. It makes me feel better about it makes me always nervous with an 8 under to bet it, but I love the 5. It's a 5-star bet. I like it. The weather is going to be bad there. I think going to have both pitchers actually do well. I just don't know how long Cueto is going to be able to pitch. Maybe makes sense as a long shot tournament play there. But yeah, I could definitely get behind both pitchers in DFS and betting the under in the Giants-Padres game, which, by the way, just looking at that total makes you, look at compared to the other totals, makes you kind of interested in both pitchers for DFS purposes in that stadium, which is just really suppresses any power. We've got Abrasive making a couple comments in chat, which I'm going to take a quick look at. He loves Boyd today. I also like that too. The Royals struggle versus the slider and had a high K percentage except for Witt. I agree. And also they've had some BBP here. It's not incredible. It's 150 plate sample size basically. Witt is 20 for 39 off of Matt Boyd, and Salvador Perez is 9 for 28 with a couple home runs. Witt has no home runs, but other than that, they strike out a lot and nobody's touched him. So those are the two best bats on the Royals, in my opinion. But anyway, it's an interesting spot to take Boyd, and I think that you're probably going the right way if you get some Boyd exposure in there tonight. Angry Hairline says he needs a 4-4 stack lowest owned for FanDuel. The lowest owned. Okay, well, that's going to be interesting because the lowest owned is certainly not going to be the stacks that I would recommend. But if I'm going to look at one that maybe getting overlooked a little bit, because again, I like the big 4 today. I'm just going to have to do it and mix up my lineup construction because I really do see them having an edge over the rest of the lineups. I think you could argue, even though I like Musgrove, that maybe taking a shot on the Brewers, even though I don't like it. It's just, I think you're going to get decent ownership on them, which you haven't really gotten lately. So maybe the Brewers, not that interested. I mean, I guess KC, Detroit, maybe they'll be lower owned on FanDuel. So maybe KC and Detroit maybe as lower owned plays on FanDuel specifically. On DraftKings, they're going to be more popular, but I do think getting a little combo stack from that game, maybe not 4-4, maybe like a 4-2-1. You don't have to go 4-4. You can't say you need a 4-4. But if you want to go 4-4, it should be because you like those lineups and you want to go 4-4 with them. It shouldn't be just because, okay, I need to find a 4-4 and plug that in. This is not the way you're going to win overall. Sure, you're going to hit occasionally on some little stuff, but I just don't think trying to do whatever with that style is the most optimum way to play DFS. We're going to jump back and go game by game again in a minute, but I just want to see if there's any other stacks that I thought that, the Padres had drawn some attention. I don't think that that's a good spot in that stadium. Obviously, we at BetQL like it as a 5-star. We like the under in that 8 total game. So yeah, I think you're going to get lower ownership on the KC and Detroit side of things. And maybe the Dodgers and Houston as a combo stack, but honestly, I wouldn't even expect that yet. So Dodgers and Houston as a combo stack is kind of interesting, but not my favorite. I think just the Yankees and Minnesota are clearly my favorite plays of the day. But you know what? It's baseball, so you don't have to at me later, but you can. Anyway, good points by Abrasive in chat, by the way. Real good DFS player, Abrasive is, so always appreciate his perspective. Let's go back to game by game. We already talked about the earlier nonsense stuff that's sort of off the main slate. We're going to talk, we talked about the Cubs-Reds as a good bet for the Cubs. I like that too. Why don't we start off with the Brewers game? And I think that we have to anyway, because actually it's the first game. So we've got it here as a 2-star bet on the Brewers. I personally, as I just mentioned, I like the Pirates as a straight-out play. I don't like them necessarily to win this game such a high percentage of the time. I just think you're getting decent odds. But honestly, the odds aren't nearly what I thought they were going to be when the day started. So kind of less into the Pirates, sort of more into just laying on this game in general. Even though we do have it as a 2-star bet here, we have it, they think it should be at BetQL of minus 135, 10-point difference from the current line, puts it at a 2-star line. If it was at, 30 points difference, you'd see a higher star rating. Obviously, that's how that works. But I just think there's a good enough chance that maybe we're overrating Milwaukee's lineup and their best hitters are struggling. And we've got Musgrove, who is at times very difficult to hit, even though he's been a little bit hit or miss these last few years. So that's where I'm at personally. Sharp better, 74% of the money on the Brewers. Again, I told you, I just like it as a straight-out bet for the Pirates, hoping on Musgrove. Maybe it's a little hopeful because of my DFS outlook, but that is definitely one of the things I'm considering. I just really like the spot overall for the Pirates. I actually like Woodruff as a pitcher, but I just don't see these guys being all that much different tonight, personally. And you can at me on that one, but that's my personal play. So we'll skip on over to the next one. Let's jump over to the Rays and Braves. This is a game I have very little interest in DFS, and I don't really have any interest in betting. I think that you could play Morton as an incredibly low-owned option. Soroka, even as a really good pitcher, it's hard to play him at these prices. So maybe Soroka or Morton is a really low-owned one shot, but there's certainly nobody you want to prioritize. At the same time, makes the bats pretty uninteresting, so not going to go anywhere really with this lineup from the Braves and Rays. Again, want to mention to you guys, while you get in chat, any takes on golf? Who's going to win the PGA Championship next week? Who's going to win this week? Just give us some hot takes. Give us some takes on tonight's slate, on basketball, on anything. We want to hear from you. We want to make this the most enjoyable, interactive show we can. So in order to do that, I need you guys to hang in there with me until we have hundreds of people and I can't even keep up with chat, which is hopefully going to be in the not-too-distant future. Anyway, Braves and Rays, mostly just to stay away. Brandon Lau, Acuna as a one-off. Albies, those would be your preferred plays. Maybe Freeman. Not really that interested in anybody personally. Not interested in betting the game. Not really interested. We can't give you all the stuff, but you guys could see a lot of really cool trends if we could give you the free information, which we gave you on some of the other games, but we're unfortunately not able to give to you over here. And one of these days we'll do a premium only show or something. So if you're subscribed, and we'll tell you all the things because it's pretty cool. I'll tell you that. I'm going to jump on over to the next game, which is the Dodgers and Astros. Obviously, we know what happened last night with my Dodgers. Okay, so let's just talk really quickly about like the overall just sports perspective of this. I don't like throwing at people's heads. I think that's really, really messed up overall. I don't like Joe Kelly in general. I do think that to not think you're going to get thrown at as the Houston Astros is nuts. And I also want to point out that everybody seems to be mistaken because they keep showing these highlights of the Gurriel pitch and the pitch to Correa. Those were both curveballs. Those were not throwing at anybody. It's just that Joe Kelly has no control. The one at Bregman was absolutely throwing at him. And you can't throw at someone's head like that. But, I mean, if there's one team that should be punished and hasn't gotten anywhere near the punishment they deserve, it's the Astros. So I wasn't surprised to see the benches clear at some point in that game. Was a little bit surprised that it happened the way it did. The Dodgers had the lead. It didn't really seem like a good time to start walking people. But anyway, that's just whatever. It's let's go Dodgers and f the Astros, and I really despise that team, and a team that I once really liked, but for DFS purposes makes some sense today. I like the Dodgers to flat out win this game. Again, when the day started, I thought the odds were going to be a little bit closer to even. So you're not getting great odds, but I still think the Dodgers do win this game. You got a rookie who's got a high K rate in Javier for the Astros. Not a guy I expect to stick around very long. Some question marks more so than previous years in the Astros bullpen. Dodgers have a little bit stronger, but also some question marks. So could see this as a little mini game stack. Favorite plays in the game would be Bellinger, Seager, followed by Muncy and Betts. And then on Houston, we already talked about Brantley as a great play on DraftKings. I would also include Springer. Reddick is also crazy cheap on DraftKings and FanDuel, but DraftKings is really cheap. And we've got that's basically who I'd be looking at. But from a straight betting perspective, I would bet the Dodgers, and I would consider betting the over. I'm a little nervous about the over because Dustin May's pretty good. I just don't know how long he'll pitch. And I'm going to bet more on these offenses. So I'm going to bet a little bit more on the Dodgers in the over. But again, don't think I would actually make the bet on the over tonight. It's a little bit higher than I want to go, especially as someone who's come out and said the games are going to be a little bit lower scoring in general, with a few exceptions this season. So let's move on to the Tigers in Detroit. You've got the Tigers as a minus 135 favorite here. KC plus 115. This game, I really like Boyd tonight for DFS, but I also like some of the KC bats, which are going to be pretty popular. You've got an endless amount of players in this game who you can choose from. I'm going to take a quick look at my ownership projections because I have a lot of ownership in this game, but it's not necessarily where you think. I'm taking a little bit more of some of these Detroit bats just because I think that that's going to be the lower owned way to go. Well, I don't know, actually. I mean, they're both basically Crone and Scope are my preferred plays in this game. Everybody else from Detroit is a mix as a part of a 3 or 4 man, maybe a 5-man stack, but unlikely. I also think that we've got KC with Whit Merrifield with the crazy BVP and on fire lately. Love him tonight, but going to be owned. And so is Salvador Perez going to be owned. So these are good plays. You just got to know what the ownership's going to come with it. So just remember when you do that before you do anything else, basically. You're going to have to try and find some pretty other major ways to differentiate if you're going to play just the chalky guys. And there's a lot of chalk that I like today, and unfortunately this is part of it. But I think Scope and Crone will come in at lower ownership than the other guys, and I really like both of those guys today. I liked Scope yesterday, played him, hit a home run for me, and did some more too. Really like him. So just wanted to make sure we focused on that, that there are some other spots in this game. And I would mostly just, instead of other people like stacking it and playing everybody, obviously Franco at 2K on DraftKings is ridiculous, but it's a strong position. Soler at 3.6 is ridiculous, but again, strong position. McBroom at 2K at first base or outfield, both strong positions, but do you want to use your first base or outfield spot on that guy? They're all going to play, but they're just not – I'm just not going to go ahead and fully stack them a ton, although I might end up with a stack or two of them tonight because I do think that there's enough upside. I more would side with Boyd in the Detroit side. I just wish I liked the Detroit hitters individually rather than trying to group them together because they all kind of – it's hard to picture winning a slate with them as your lineup. But I guess last night, basically, if you could get like 60 points out of your stack, you were doing fine because it was a pretty ugly night as far as DFS goes in terms of scoring. All right, let's move on to the next one because I've sort of, we sort of know where everyone's at on this one. If there's any questions on it, we can go through that. I'm going to just address a few things that people have said in the chat. I did notice that Trenton on Periscope says that Mets stack. So I like the Mets stack idea versus Eovaldi, but I think I would prefer just taking a few bats. And I really like Pete Alonso tonight. Sort of bouncing back. Obviously, you get the stadium downgrade, going back, home to New York. He struggled so far to start the season, but I think people might not own him as much as they should just because of where he was last night. Also, I could see first base being an easy spend down spot tonight, and Pete Alonso might be overlooked a little bit. So I kind of like that. I like him. I like McNeil. I like Conforto. I like Cano a little bit, but I don't really think I'm going to go nuts with the Mets. I think I'm just going to take one or two here or there. But I do like the Mets stack idea. I think if you want to go for it, you fully have my blessing. Eovaldi is not what he was, and I don't trust this Red Sox bullpen. I think you're going to see Eovaldi be very, very hit or miss this year. So that's basically where I'm at anyway, guys. Just taking a quick look at a few things, any updates that popped to my phone. I always do this thing where I get the updates on my phone, rather than getting them on my computer. So I always have to look down at my phone. I'm not distracted. I'm distracted by the same things we're talking about because I'm getting lineups, but I make sure to turn the alerts off on my computer because it's too distracting. So I can go look at my phone, which is also distracting. So I'm just a distracted mess, basically, is the long and short of that one. All right, let's move on to the next game. Again, when you get in the chat, please like and subscribe, follow. Remember, if you enter MLBISBACK, you get 20% off of all the deals that here at BetQL. Just make sure that this is a good time to get everything going because we're going to have so many sports coming up. I just had the producer just threw it up in the chat. We've got MLBISBACK for 20% off any subscription here at BetQL. So, guys, let's jump on over. I'm just trying to find out where I was. I believe I almost at the Red Sox and Mets, which I sort of just jumped the gun because I was answering Trenton's question over there. But we will get into the Red Sox Mets. I don't have it pulled up in terms of the announced players over here, but I actually, we know who it is, Eovaldi, DeGrom. I don't mind taking one bat against Jacob DeGrom, and that bat would be either Devers or JD Martinez as a low-owned one-off. That's a great DFS route. It's just you're going to get no ownership on a great hitter, and we don't know how long DeGrom's going to go. I'm worried about DeGrom for DFS. I'm worried that he only threw 75 pitches and he was cruising in his last start. Don't know what else to say. It's a lot of money to pay for a guy you don't know if he'll throw more than 75 pitches. But I'm willing to play him a little bit, and I'll play Eovaldi a little bit. But I also like some of these Mets power bats, and we already went through the ones I like. If you have any more questions on that, you can ask that. But not really going to get into the Red Sox hitters mostly tonight. It would only be JD. He'd be the preferred one if there was one. And then maybe you could throw in Devers as a one-off and hope they connect a couple times off of DeGrom and then maybe once off the bullpen. Next one we are going to get into is the Yankees-Orioles. We have a 9 total, and the Yankees have the majority of that 9. The Yankees are minus 350 at Baltimore today. Imagine a road team being minus 350 in baseball. That's just like kind of an absurd statement. I'm all over the Yankees, okay? I'm just going to throw out, this is baseball. If you want to get ridiculous odds on a baseball game, does Baltimore win here like ever? Yeah, sometimes. Maybe you could use it as a part of like a really like easy 2 other team parlay that you like, or one of the 2 that you really like with this one. But as a long shot, I kind of like the Orioles, even though I'm going to talk all the reasons why I love Cole and the Yankees. So it's kind of weird. Great point by Abrasive before I could even get to it. Yankees are incredibly priced on FanDuel, but Hicks also especially great value at 2,500. These guys are crazy priced on DraftKings, so maybe playing the Hicks, the LeMahieu, the Glaber, whatever on DraftKings might be lower owned than you think. Whereas Judge and Stanton, I don't think will be, just because the pricing of those guys, they're all hard to get in, and there's a lot of good Minnesota bats. So I don't see how everybody's going to be able to pay up at every spot for these guys. So maybe playing the Voits, the catcher, Gary Sanchez at 5.6, the catcher through third base rather than the outfield, I kind of like as a DFS strategy. Low owned stack to go with Yankees. I think you could take pieces, but it's a good question by Angry Hairline. Again, I'm not loving these other stacks, so we keep asking for these low owned stacks, but it's hard because I'd be lying if I just said, "Oh, I like these low owned stacks," but I don't like them. The stacks I like mostly are on the semi more chalky side, at least as of our projections as of right now. Maybe a mini Cardinals or a mini Tigers or a mini. I mean, even those are not that crazy low. Mini Astros and Dodgers. Dodgers are going to be hard to play along with these other guys. Maybe the Dodgers and Astros with the Yankees. The spend ups on the Dodgers and Astros, and then the spend downs on the Yankees, like the 2-2-2-4 or something like that. That mimight be an interesting route, but I'm not a huge fan of the low-owned stacks tonight, so I'm not going to sit here and toot their horn. I like some low-owned players, which we can talk about, but I'm not really as into the low-owned stacks. I wouldn't mind a mini-Met stack, like I said, but just not really finding anything that I really like to go with the high-owned Yankees, except for maybe you could go with the absolute, the 6-8-1-3 or something, or 8-9-1-3 or something of Minnesota will be lower owned because you get Sano at like 1% ownership. So you can do something like that. That's all you have to do, man. You don't need to differentiate everywhere, and you can still get a great access to the stack by just taking those players who hit 8th. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things in terms of tonight's slate. It only matters in the long term. Yeah, you're not going to get an extra at bat here and there, but you're betting on the offense to go off anyway. So you better get that 4th or 5th at bat, hopefully, anyway. So anyway, That's just sort of where I'm at with that question. Hopefully I answered it well. I don't know if that makes sense, but let me know if that makes some sense to you, Angry Hairline. I can't just recommend stacks that I don't like, so I'm not going to do that. That's certain sites I've worked for in the past, let's just say, have done a lot of that, and they just recommend everyone on every show, and people say, oh, great call, and this guy, great call. Well, if you name 10 players in every game, you're going to be right, okay? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you who I'm playing. We're going to be transparent about everything, and you're going to get the best betting advice that I'm capable of, because I am not going to tell you to do something that I wouldn't do myself. I will tell you that you could do it, but I won't do it myself, but that's about as far as I would go with that. Anyway, tangent over. Garrett Cole, the preferred spend up of the night. Angry Hairline, appreciate it. Glad a question worked out for you. We're just going to, stack the hell out of the Yankees. I think mostly I'm just going to keep it to 4 men. I might leave a little bit of money on the table in some of those lineups to differentiate. Again, stacking the bottom of the order, using them with low-owned guys from other stacks that I like. I use Miguel Sano as an example. I don't think you're going to get much ownership on some of the Astros, some of the Dodgers. That's sort of the guys I'm piecing together, but I think you can piece together. You don't have to stack as much as you had in years past. I'm just going to remind you, yes, it's a good baseline, but you do not need to do it. You can just play your favorite players and still win money at tournaments. I promise. It's just a little bit more difficult. But when you win, it's pretty hard for someone else to have the same lineup construction. That's why every now and then you see these guys who would have won with their cash game lineups because they have 8 different players that all go off. Yeah, of course, that's going to end up being the ideal thing. You're not going to get the 5 highest producing players in one team, but it's like the safer way to go in terms of building tournament lineups, even though it might seem counterintuitive. No Orioles bats for me. I don't pick on Garrett Cole unless there's good bats, and the Orioles don't have any. So we're going to move past this one to our other favorite hitting spot of the day. Look, you can stack the Twins every which way, which is partly what makes them great. Play the bottom of their stack, play the higher part of their stack, play the guys who seem overpriced. In terms of ownership, my favorite, I love all of them today, but I will have an extremely high ownership on Kepler, Cruz, Polanco, Rosario. Those are my highest owned, and Sano. Sano is my wild card one because I love the power at the bottom of the order and the lack of ownership for a guy who could hit 2 bombs. He's also made me more money in DFS than anybody, so I'm a little biased. Take it for what you will. But I love that. From an outright, straight-up sports betting perspective, I think that Minnesota is going to win this game. I think they should be favored pretty handily. But I could see St. Louis, maybe you do a little game stack of this game a little bit, or maybe you use a couple bats at St. Louis' side. I would preferred bats for me would be Edman, DeYoung, and a little bit of either Carpenter. And mostly, though, I think it would be Goldie. I like Goldie. I don't love first base tonight. Rich Hill, historically great against righties. Oh, we have no Kepler in the lineup. I'm going to have to take a look at the Twins lineup because I haven't had a chance to take a look at it since we got on air, which obviously it launched as we were on air. But I don't care. We'll find somebody else because that team is absolutely loaded with talent. And maybe the weaker spots in the lineup, and I know Garver's not in the lineup either today. I just got a message. So I kind of see maybe people avoided a little bit, Obviously, the lineup's not quite as strong, but I still believe in the power of all these guys. So I'm going to have to take a quick look at the lineup when we get off, or at least in a few minutes before we go to our next thing. Guys, get some more questions in the chat. Get some more thoughts out there. Who's going to win the PGA Tour this week? Who's going to win the PGA Tour Championship? Who's going to win the NBA title? Who's going to play in the NBA title games? The NBA Finals. Will we get through the bubble? Hopefully. That looks good. That looks better than baseball. Will we get through another week of baseball? I don't know. I think it's really, really risky. But let's enjoy it while we can. And no matter what, we're going to have some great sports going on all through the fall, which is really weird to say because the summer just completely went away. But it's going to be a really good time here at BetQL, QL TV. And we're improving the shows every day. We're getting the graphics done. We're just in the process of building it up. And we were just getting started right like the day of before all this happened. And who knew what sports were going to come back and win. And it's just so good to have the excitement of potentially having baseball, basketball, golf, everything going together. And then football is even a little scary, but you know what, guys? There's going to be enough sports out there that we can bet on and make money and enjoy this. I'm really excited. So let's get back to it. We got Trenton saying the Wizards are taking the 8th seed in the East. I think that would be a miracle, and I think that there's almost no way mathematically that could happen, in my opinion. I think that would be the worst odds of any team in history ever making the playoffs. I think Phoenix would have a better chance, which they have no chance. The Wizards have 0 chance. I understand the thinking that they would play the Nets, who are banged up. The Nets are still 1,000 times ahead of where the Wizards are in terms of having NBA players. Even the guys they're signing off the street are better than the Wizards NBA players right now. So I wouldn't bet on the Wizards taking the 8th seed in the East. I can't see them beating anybody 2 out of 3, even if they were to get to the point where they got to that point. And I just don't see that happening either. But, stranger things have happened. Yeah, no, they only have to get within 4 games. Then they have to win 2 out of 3 against a team that's much better than them. They are so much worse than every other team in the bubble. It's hard for me to see them winning at all. They have nothing. There's nothing. I don't even know how they're going to be able to compete in any game unless the other team completely packs it in. That's my personal take. If making a single lineup, would I lock in Cole? In my biggest buy-in lineups right now, I do have Cole in my DraftKings lineups because I like Musgrove. So that kind of gives away a little something. I also like Heaney. You could potentially even get him with Paddock with some of the pricing, but I don't think he's a must at all. I think that you could go 2 middle guys. I think you can go Heaney, Woodruff. You can go, we talked about the other guys we liked. There's other guys you can go with in that spot. Just a reminder, though, I don't think I'm going to stack the Cardinals, but I do like a couple bats, getting a 4 Twins, 2 Cardinals, hopefully one of those Twins lower in the order. That's a good route to go. Let's jump over again, guys. We're going to talk about the Padres-Giants game, which we already gave away the free bet. The under at 8, which feels crazy to me. But I like it. I agree with it. I like both pitchers a little bit for DFS. We don't have them pulled up here on this particular screen, but we know who it's going to be. We've got, we already talked about this game a little bit because we just covered it. But basically, just as a quick refresher, you got to like Paddock, and Cueto, if he gets enough pitches, probably is in play. So really, really good spot for trying to sneak out a pitcher. Don't like any of the hitting. I definitely like the under 8 bet. I think it's interesting. And I don't know that I would bet the San Diego I think that's a bad bet. I think I would lean towards betting if I think the game's going to stay under 8 runs or near that run total, I'm going to bet the Giants to win that game. So I would take the Giants tonight, even though I like Paddock for DFS. I hope this stuff all makes sense to you guys. Most of you guys are pretty sharp, so I'm sure you're keeping up with it, but just wanted to point that out. Remember, guys, like and subscribe. Make sure you're a part of the BetQL community. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. And we're doing all these videos for free, so we're going to do free DFS content daily, and you can't get that from everybody else. I also do my lineup screen shares, which we can do in a minute if you guys want to see my initial builds. And let me just get rid of this screen real quick here. But we just have to finish. I believe we have one more game. Yes, we have one more game. So real quickly, we'll do that. Mariners at Angels. Okay, so this is a good spot, I think, to stack the Angels hate stadium, but you basically got a nothing pitcher against them in a bullpen game. I'm probably not going to fully stack them as much as, again, looking for pieces. Those pieces are going to be in order. Ohtani number 1, Upton number 2, Trout number 3, and that's pretty much the main guys. But you can if you do stack them, throw in a Fletcher. I haven't seen where everybody's batting yet today, but throw in some of the guys that, if you're going to fully stack them, again, these 4 big major stacks are going to be pretty popular. And there's not so many great spots today. So 4 to 5 major stacks. So I would probably try to look to differentiate with somebody near the bottom of the order. Probably somebody other than Albert Pujols, because I just don't like playing him as my first base option. I only get one of them. But yeah, anyway, that's sort of where I'm at. We're going to jump into my lineups in a minute. Any quick questions, any thoughts, any ideas in the slate, any golf picks, any baseball picks, any basketball picks, please put it in the chat and I will get to it as I stop this screen share, or I go back to my other screen. I'm going to stop this screen share right now, and we are going to load up my DraftKings initial builds, which obviously are going to change because the lineups hadn't come out when we made them, and guys like Kepler being out, that changes some things. And by the way, I am a little bit less high on Minnesota in terms of how many runs they'll score now, but I still think that they're a great stack. I just wanted to point that out. Not having Kepler and Garver does make enough of a difference to where it's maybe not quite as good, but they have so many good players. Did I get that screen right that I just lit up? Which one are we seeing right now? Nope, we got the wrong one. Let me just do that again. Sorry, guys. It's still a learning process. This is brand new software to me. So we are going to share it. And actually, I thought I did hit the right one. There we go. We've got it up here now. Looks pretty good. This is the initial builds I came up with this morning. You could sort of see the routes that I went. And I'm kind of curious to hear your guys' feedback on this. I'm going to leave that up there for a minute and then let you guys take a quick look and give me your thoughts. I'm going to read a question while you're taking a look. And another one from Angry Hairline. Am I doing an NBA show, right? 51 million. How are we going to get different? Dude, I'm so excited. Let's go, man. Let's go, NBA. $1 million first place. I don't know how you're going to get different on a 2-game slate, personally. On the big slate, I think it's possible, but unlikely. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to figure that out. And you know that NBA is my greatest passion. So we're going to do that stuff for you. We'll be bringing you guys all that stuff. Anyway, going to keep going. I know some other shows have started on the industry, so we're going to try and find a time. Well, if you guys don't mind, again, like, subscribe, do all that stuff. But if you don't mind, show us a time. Give me a time that's best for the live shows on QL TV for you. So whether now in the YouTube chat, whether Twitter later, whether at BetQL, whether at Bobby Fi, whoever you're sending it to, let us know what time is the best shows for us to do them, because I know that there's overlapping shows and you guys like to watch the other ones. So we want to be able to offer you our own unique product and not entirely compete with them, although we're happy to do that if that's what you'd rather prefer. Just let us know what works best for you. What can we do for you to make this the most enjoyable? Let us know how you like it. Let us know what I could do better, what I could do worse. And real quickly, I'll talk through my lineups, but wanted to really make this as enjoyable as possible for you guys. So please give us the like, the thumbs up. Please send us feedback, good and bad. Tell us other things you'd like to see. But I don't know anyone else in the industry who's really sharing their actual lineups. And this is my initial builds. And that's one thing I feel like that I'm trying to do that's a little bit different. And that's basically the first things I came up with today. Again, I don't know how many of these my lineups are going to end up reflecting all this. And you can see the ownership sort of is, for some reason, it's not telling you entirely how much I have of each player. Let me refresh the screen. Yeah, there we go. Just kind of froze up there on you. It's freezing up on me a little bit here. Here we go. See that number in the upper right should be about 10,000, a little bit, 10,000 more or so, but it is what it is. What are you going to do? Anyway, this is a little bit where I'm at. I get a lot of flack, by the way, from other people in the DFS industry for doing this. And this is, to me, what's criminal about other people who are charging you money to do this, whereas I'm not. I know we're recommending BetQL, and that's a way to make money overall and all that stuff. But I'm being transparent about my lineups, and they're saying somehow it's an unfair advantage that I'm giving to the customers who we are supposed to make better. This is what I do that's different. I sure have a million different weird quirks and personality things, but I also am completely transparent. What I say, I do. And I am going to play the plays that I play. I'm going to make money off the plays that I play, and I'm going to make money telling you off of the plays that I play. And so will you if you listen. Not every night, not most nights even, but when you win, make up for it. You can ask any of my students. I can have a million people vouch for this, but I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing. And this, as of right now, as of right now, my initial builds. Not enough money left on the table. You can see I did it in a couple lineups where I did have chalkier stacks. See that? That's one thing I was considering. Leaving like 1,200 in some spots. Mostly that's not going to be my overall, because I do think there's enough value and upside in using these pitchers. I've got a Cole DeGrom lineup here. Going to get more Paddock, going to get more Boyd. Going to go a little bit less Cole and Musgrove overall. Like to spread them out in the other tournaments, but for the big buy-in tournaments like the 1,500, it's hard for me not to be thinking Cole Musgrove right now. That's just sort of where I'm at. Anyway, guys, that's just that one. Real quickly, I'm going to stop this share and share my FanDuel lineup. I only built one shell FanDuel lineup, but I would like to share it with you guys anyway, just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking today, because it's a little different over on FanDuel. So I basically got in the guys that I wanted. This is my 450. I'm going to play a few of these today. It's basically a hardcore 4-4 stack. I think I'm going to need to de-chalkify for sure, but I want to point out in bigger buy-in tournaments with smaller fields, you can go a little more chalky and still win because you're not competing against 700,000 people. You're just competing against 1,000. Or in some cases, it's just a few hundred, which tonight, actually, I think it's only, 750. So certainly winnable. Only playing 3 lineups over here, but this is sort of my initial build as a reminder of the guys I wanted today. Nothing shocking. I forgot to mention Donaldson before, but love him tonight. He looks good this year to me. I like his swing. Love Corey Seager, by the way. I mentioned him briefly, but his swing looks great. I just think the results will come. They haven't been great so far, but they're going to come. But this is giving you guys a little idea of just sort of what I'm doing on FanDuel and the other pitchers that, the big discussion. You pay for Cole over here. You don't play Paddock over here. You play Heaney over here. You can consider Woodruff and Boyd over here. And you can consider potentially Musgrove or Duffy. But I just think that mostly you're sticking with Cole, Heaney, Boyd. That would be my top 3 for FanDuel. Heaney being my favorite, I guess. I even do like Musgrove a little bit over here, though, I have to say. Just a little bit interesting to go to him, And again, if I knew Dustin May was going to throw 80 pitches or 90 pitches, I would probably have some interest, but also not the greatest team. So I'll wait for my Dustin May big winner spot later. So guys, with that, I'm going to take a look at the chat and see if we have anything else to go over before I get out of here. But hopefully we've been enjoyable for you guys. And again, please send us all your feedback. Please add us. Please like and subscribe. We were building our own little community here, and we're doing it for free, and we want to take you guys along for the ride. So, all right, we're going to get out of here so we can make sure to send this video out to some of our people here, and they can check it out to sort of get my thoughts on the slate. But I'm going to leave it open for just another minute while I take off my screen share, and you guys can get in any last thoughts or questions. If we don't have any, I will be getting out of here in probably the next minute or so. I'll mention my guys, a couple quick PGA long shot. I like Tommy Fleetwood as an upset to potentially win this tournament. He's one of my favorite plays for DFS, as you can imagine as well. After a disappointing week, I think he was getting back in form, and I think he'll be back this week. I like, as another play, I like Rory a ton. I mean, they're my two highest owned golfers. I love Young Hyung Ahn as a low owned play. I love Brent Snedeker. I think that Adam Hadwin is a really good value. Just sort of some of the guys who popped out off the top of my head. In fact, real quickly, just for S's and giggles, I'm going to actually pull my DraftKings back up again so we can just show just my initial lineup build. I made one DraftKings lineup so far. I've got a script running for others. Oh, Berger, who's won here twice. I like, I didn't put Fleetwood in this one, so I'm going to change that. But in fact, we'll do that right now. Just show you a little bit about what goes through when you're whittling down in lineups with golf. But I'm going to right here try to get Fleetwood in here. And what I'm going to have to do is maybe drop down, maybe give up on my Sung JM love. But I think instead of that, I'm just going to do this for the super upside play. So part of why I like guys like Snedeker and On is there's no cut this week. And I want guys who can put up a number if they've got it going. And both those guys fit that category to an absolute T. I'm actually kind of excited about playing them and excited for another weekend of golf, even though I'm not playing quite as heavy as I was with all this DFS action. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. It's been really great having you. I know we don't have a huge group here yet, but we will soon. Can't thank you enough. Can't thank the people at BetQL enough. I promise you, we're going to be competing as the most entertaining shows on TV. We've got a couple other people who will be joining us. We'll have Sheets, who join us for some shows. I know there's some other people at BetQL is going to set up as well, and a couple other guys who are pretty big in the industry that we won't name names yet, but we'll be popping in. And yeah, it's going to be a really, really fun time. So really glad to have you guys here. I'm going to get out of here for BetQL. I'm Bobby Fi saying we'll see you at the top of leaderboards tonight, guys.